So today I am canning up some pineapples. I have 5 here. I was able to get them on sale for 88 cents each, so I decided to go ahead and do that. Try to get some fruit into my jars, into my pantry, and yeah. So I did let them sit on the counter for a few days just to ripen up, and now I'm going to just cut them up and get them canned. So this is the canning book I'm using to make my syrup to go into my pineapples. I am going to be using a light syrup out of this book. I already have my sugar measured here, and I'm going to just pour in my water and get this going and dissolved while I cut up my pineapples. And I will just keep this on a medium to low setting until all the sugar dissolves. So once I have them peeled and cored, I just cut them up a little smaller. And I'm doing cubes because that's easier for me while I'm hand cutting this. Now if I had one of those fancy tools that cores it and makes a circle out of it, then I would use that, but I don't. And I'm just putting it into my stock pot, which is what I'm going to use to heat this up with the syrup that I made. So just cutting it up into chunks. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see from my hand or not, it is very juicy. They are very ripe, probably a little too ripe. But yeah, summer sweet. One I tasted was a little bit tart, but that's okay. My light syrup will take care of that and mellow the, the sweetness together. So I'm just cutting, I don't know if you can see this, the top. And this is where a really sharp knife comes in handy. The top and the bottom off. Just cutting top and the bottom off. Just cut it off. And then I stand it up this way and just start cutting around the sides. And again, this is where a nice sharp knife comes in handy. So I'm just going to cut it around the sides and get it all cut up. So I don't know if you can see this, but this is the pineapple I cut into. That's all the sugars. This one is actually overripe. So I'll probably just use this one in a smoothie and just use the other ones that have pretty much almost a full pot, not like 3/4 of a full pot. And I'll just use this in smoothie. It's not that it's bad, but it's more ripe than I want to can. So yeah, I'll just use that in a smoothie. It's not that it's quite bad, but had I left it a couple of days, it would have been. I guess, you know what? You never know what you're getting into with these pineapples that you get from the store, how ripe they are. And I did let them sit on my counter for about 2 days before I started to cut them up. I probably should have used them right away, but they did look a bit green when I did get them home. So yeah, I'm gonna cut this one up and I'm gonna use this for smoothies. So I wanted to show you how I cut them up. And basically after I've peeled them or taken the flesh off of them, the tops and bottoms, I cut them in 4s. And then because they have a core, like a hard part you don't want to eat, I find cutting them in 4 is a lot easier. So this one I'm not going to can, but I am going to eat it. So the core is right here. And I just take my knife and run it down. And it takes off the core, just like that. Cut it in half. And if you want to, sometimes it's easier to cut it in half again and then cut the core out. Do it that way. If you're like me and always getting cuts from, knives and paper cuts and what have you, then if you find an easier way to do it, then that's the way I do it. So just holding it there and cutting it down. And then I'm just going to cut these up into chunks, and I'm going to freeze these because I'm not going to use all this. Probably a couple pieces for a smoothie, and then the rest I'll just put in the freezer that I can use at a later time for my smoothies. And once I've got them to that point, you saw me cut up the other one. So I'm just gonna cut these up into smaller chunks like that, and these are gonna go into a Ziploc bag, and I'll put them in the freezer that I can use for smoothies. This is not gonna go to waste. It was my fault that I let them sit there so long that they started to over ripen, just like bananas. I mean, once bananas go brown, you don't throw them away, you make banana bread with them, or you make smoothies. And that's the same with the pineapple. I'm gonna make smoothies out of this, and just put them in the freezer for when I want to use them up. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do with these overripe pineapple that I got. Here are the pineapples. I just put them in some Ziploc bags, and I will put those in the freezer, and I will use them in smoothies. They won't go to waste. I did taste them, and they taste sweet, but as you can see, they're starting to brown. But yeah, I don't want to can those, so I'm going to use them in smoothies. So here is my fruit that I got off my pineapples. There is, I'm not even sure how big this stock pot is. I'm going to say 5 quarts. I'll look at the bottom and tell you exactly how big it is. But this came off of, I had 5 in total. That one that was too ripe to can, so that's 4. Probably about 3.5 or so. By the time I cut them off, cut the tops off and that sort of thing. And they were kind of on the larger side. So the canning book said to bring the syrup up to a boil. I believe this is a boil, so I'm going to turn it off. And while I'm putting my fruit into the jars, you can do this one of 2 ways. Put your fruit in the jars and then put the syrup over it. Or put your fruit in the syrup, bring it back to a boil, and then jar it up. But I want to be able to evenly spread my fruit over my jars, so I'm going to put my fruit in my jars. So I don't know about you, but I sterilize my jars no matter what. Whether I'm water bath canning or pressure canning, I always sterilize my jars, my lids as well. I just put them in a pot of warm water, which I'm going to do in 2 seconds. And I do wash them before I use them on my whatever I'm canning. I don't just take them out of the packaging and put them right on my jars. You never know what's on that machinery or who's touched them or what residue could be on those seals, and I don't want to take the chance. So now that I have my jar sanitized, I'm going to start filling my fruit in there. I'm just using my canning ladle that you've seen I don't know how many times. So I have 6 jars here, and I'm going to see how many I can fill up. I'll probably get these 6 done. I might have a little bit more, but I'm just going to process 6 because the rest of them will just eat fresh. And that's how much fits in the, I'm using a stock pot for a water bath counter today because I don't feel like dragging out my water bath counter. And I think it will be, I'm used this time and time again before I got a water bath counter, so it's fine if you just have a stock pot to do this in. And it looks like I'm going to get more than 6. So about 3.5, and I'm doing pints. I don't know if you can see that. About 3.5 of these pineapples. And it didn't make that much juice. There's pretty much no juice in this pot. And it's definitely filling up 6. I could probably get another 2 pint-sized jars out of it. So maybe 8 pint-sized jars for, we'll say 4 pineapples. And last time I did this, I only got 4. That's because we might have eaten some on the way. And yeah. So I've got my 6 pretty much filled up. I'm actually going to pack it down a little bit. Pack these in a little bit more so I can get a little bit more in here. And I'm just going to use like a spatula, or you can even use the back side of it. And I think I will do that because it will help pack them down more. See? Pack that down and I could get a couple more pieces in here. So that's what I'm going to do for each jar. So I have all my jars filled with my pineapples. Here is my simple syrup. And this is how much pineapples I have left out of that. I did eat a couple. Shh, don't tell anybody. So I'm just going to ladle this in. This was boiling like 2 seconds ago. And I'll just ladle it in here. So this is how much syrup I had left after I filled my jars. Now I'm going to debubble them and get the lids and the rings on. I'm going to save this. I'm going to label it pineapple syrup because the juice from the pineapples, the little bit that I got, I actually put in with the syrup, and it's got that pineapple essence. It wasn't a lot of syrup that came off these pineapples, so I just put it in there, or should I say juice that came off these pineapples. So I just put it in there to go with the simple syrup because just to give it a little boost of flavor. Things that are really important to debubble. Just want to get any excess air bubbles out of here, and I'm gonna do that for all of them. And the next really important thing to do is I have a little bit of white vinegar here and a clean paper towel. That's what I like to use. And you want to get these rims really clean because this is syrup that you're dealing with. It's sticky and it could impede the seal of the jar. So I'm going to go around and wipe every single one, probably 2 or 3 times. And I'm turning over the paper towel every time I move on to a new jar so it gets a clean spot. So you just want to keep turning it. I know it doesn't really look like I am, but I turn it every time to a different spot and wipe the next jar. So here I have my lids. My jars have been debubbled and wiped clean. And I'm just using my little magnetic wand here and putting that on and screwing fingertip tight onto the next one. You don't want to touch the underside of this because that could impede the seal of your jar. So I'm going to do this for the rest of them. They say you don't have to warm your lids, but I do it anyway. It can't hurt, right? So yeah, I'm just making sure I get a really good seal. And I'm just going to finish this up and get them into my water bath canner, which aka is a big stainless steel pot. Okay, my jars are in. There are my 6 jars of pineapples. And I am bringing them up to temp to process them for 15 minutes at my altitude. Once again, I am using the book to tell me how long I need to process this for. As you can see, it is pints, 15 minutes. I am under 1,000 feet above sea level. And this is for pineapples. This basically tells you everything you need to know. You see, leaving a 1/2 inch headspace. I kind of did that. I didn't really measure, but it's about 1/2 inch headspace. And it tells you whether you're doing pints or quarts. And they are hot packed because my syrup was really hot when it went in. So that makes it a hot pack. And my jars were also hot. So this is what I'm going to be doing for the next 15 minutes to process my pineapple. Here is the leftover pineapple that was in the pot. It's a little less than it was because I've already started eating it, and I'll eat the rest of it throughout the day. Today is a snack. So I'm going to put that in the fridge. And this is the pineapple syrup. It just fits in this 3/4 pint jar that I usually put butter in, but today's got pineapple syrup in it. It has a few more of the pineapple bits in there because one of my jars I overfilled and I just poured it back into the pot, and I poured it in here and it fits perfectly. I will let it cool down, and then I'll put this in the fridge and we can use it on, I don't know, pancakes, or maybe I'll try to make those gummy bears again and try to use this pineapple syrup as the liquid in it. We'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll do a video on that. But this is the pineapple syrup that is left over from my 4 pineapples and 6 jars. I didn't use it all. So yeah, that's because my pineapples didn't have a lot of syrup. If your pineapples have more syrup, you might want to make less simple syrup to go in it, or vice versa. So yeah, just showing you what I have left over. There they are, my 6 jars of pineapples out of the canner. And as you can hear, they are sealing. I think that was about the 2nd or 3rd one. A couple more that need to be sealed. I'll let them sit here 24 hours, then I'll wash them, label them, and put them into my pantry. So I'm happy to have these 6 jars of pineapples to add to my pantry. And this is one of the smoothies that I actually used some of that pineapple up in. It was so good. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and click that notification bell to be notified when I upload videos. God bless, and remember, stay safe and keep prepping.